18th, 2023 regular meeting of Belleville City Council. The City of Belleville acknowledges we are meeting today on traditional territory of many nations. The municipality operates on the unceded and unsurrendered lands of the Indigenous peoples. We recognize and honor the historic relationship of the Indigenous peoples to this land and acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and natural resources contained within it. Recognize all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit who call Belleville their home and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship with them. We look forward to fostering a path towards reconciliation and show respect for Indigenous peoples who first lived and currently live on this land where we all now reside together. For those watching us on the city streaming service or the YouTube channel or on your TV broadcast, I would point out that our agenda and all reports are on the city website at www.belleville.ca under the agenda, minutes, and live meeting video on the left side of the screen. If you then click on February 13th on the calendar, it will bring you to the agenda for today's meeting. There is a hyperlink on the agenda in the event you wish to look at the reports, and you can follow along. I will call this meeting to order, and with all present, moments of reflection, City Clerk Matt McDonald.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Please be seated. Calling on a disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof, Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship. 8B 12, item 6.6 on the grant committee report regarding the item for the Belleville Bulldogs Rugby Club, of which I am a life member.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, I need a motion for reading and confirmation of minutes, regular in-camera meeting minutes of December 12th, 2022, regular council meeting minutes of January 9th, 2023, special council meeting minutes of January 20th, 23, and special in-camera meeting minutes of January 2023. Councillor Chatton, Councillor Enright Miller, discussion, all in favor, carried. Deputations, tonight I'd like to welcome our first deputation, Jody Cooper, representing the Belleville Downtown Dock Fest.
Oh, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. I'm Jody Cooper, Festival Coordinator for Belleville Downtown Dock Fest, and I'm joined today with Holly Dewar, our Festival Board Chair.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us today. And we've got a little presentation that we'll just walk through and give you a bit of information about the film festival coming up this year. So this is our 12th year, our 12th annual film festival, which we're very proud of, and the festival has grown each year.
We're a non-for-profit incorporated film festival, and we were incorporated as non-for-profit in 2019, which was really a game changer for Belleville Downtown Dock Fest. We're now able to access a significant number of additional grants because of this change. As part of our festival, we really aim to promote awareness and understanding of global and local issues through the screening of documentary film festivals. We program films from around Canada, international films, and then we're really proud to host a specific number of local films to really support the local filmmakers in our area as well. Part of our goals, of course, is to support the region and promote the filmmaking that happens here, and we've really seen an incredible growth in this over the last 12 years of the festival.
So DocFest this year is a hybrid festival. So we're going to be having a live weekend, a live gala, and we'll also be screening virtual films following that. So really combining the best of both. In the last 2 years, we switched during COVID with the pandemic to fully virtual, and I'm very thankful that we did make that switch. We were able to attract a wider audience, and we brought new people in from all across Ontario. People could watch our films from across the province, and we attracted, we had over 10,000 viewers in the last year. So we really do think that, as I say, we'll be building on that and bringing together, presenting the best of both worlds this year. Little popcorn there to get everybody hungry. So the in-person opening weekend will be at the Empire Theatre, and that's been our traditional venue for the gala event, and it's a much-loved, very popular event. And we're really pleased and excited this year to be presenting the film that we're showing is a music documentary, which is also a part of our tradition, and it's called OK, the ASD Band. And we're very, very excited about having the band come to Belleville, and they're going to be playing after the film finishes, after the intermission. And the ASD Band is made up of 4 musicians. They're all on the autistic spectrum disorder, and they came together and formed a band. Their music is fantastic. They played recently at Massey Hall. They've also been at the CNE. And the film is remarkable in terms of telling their story and how they came together. So I think it's going to be a real crowd pleaser this year.
So as Holly said, we're really looking forward to be back in person with our gala this year, and that will be followed by films all day Saturday and all day Sunday at 3 downtown locations: the Empire Theatre, the Pinnacle Playhouse, and the Belleville Public Library John M. Parrott Art Gallery. We have a special Saturday night and Sunday night at the Empire screening. Saturday is the music social justice documentary Buffy St. Marie, Carry It On, sponsored by FNTI. And this high energy film will really be a highlight of our festival this year. Sunday's closing feature will be Icebreaker, the 72 Summit series, sponsored by Jason Wood Remax and Leave It to J&T Property Maintenance. And this film really explores that seminal moment in Canadian culture history, and it's a lot of fun for hockey lovers and non-hockey lovers alike. After our in-person weekend, we have an entire week of online films, as Holly mentioned. And so that's really for our local audience members and our audience members that we've attracted across Ontario to enjoy those films from the comfort of their homes. One of the really great partnerships that DocFest has is our educational partnerships, and they're a part of every festival. So our school screening event is a free local screening at the Empire for grade school students, usually grades 7 and 8. Last year, over 450 students attended this free event. And this year we're so excited because we're going to be showing the OK ASD Band film, and we're really just ecstatic to bring this inspirational message of inclusion and following your dreams, and it's a wonderful message for students. And this will be followed by a live Q&A with the filmmaker and band members. We also have a partnership with the Quinte Ballet School, and we'll be showing a dance film again this year, free to their students. And next week on February 22nd, we invite the whole community out to our Loyalist College student screening. This will be the 10th annual event where we'll screen about 8 to 10 student films, and then local filmmakers will judge these, and the winning 4 will be screened at the DocFest Festival.
And that really is a remarkable, I think, opportunity for the students at Loyalist to be able to show their films at DocFest and be part of the festival and to have their film seen by a wider audience. So I think that's really tremendous. And we're also showing their films online so that people across Ontario, again, will have that opportunity to see them. DocFest is good for Belleville, we believe, in many different ways. And we really invest in the community. So the grant funding that we bring in, our ticket sales, our revenue, we are non-for-profit, and so that goes back into the community. And that's very important in terms of some of the initiatives that we've talked about with the schools, with being able to encourage and support local filmmakers. And we bring amazing talent here to Belleville, so it attracts new people to Belleville, and I think that overall it adds to the livability of the city. And it adds significantly to the vibrancy of the arts and culture scene here in Belleville as well. So we're very grateful for being here in Belleville, and we're grateful for the support that the city provides to DocFest. This is a slide that just shows some of the funding that we've received. So we've received last year $5,000 from the City of Belleville grant funding. That's very significant to the festival, and we're able to leverage that funding. It's very important for us to receive support from the City of Belleville in order for us to be able to get an Ontario Arts Council grant. Last year was $10,000. We received a Canada Council for the Arts grant of $20,000 and a Heritage grant of $21,400. They all require that you be supported by the municipality, certainly letters of support, and to be able to show that there's some funding support from the city. So bringing that grant funding that we receive from the City of Belleville really helps us to grow the festival and to bring those funds into Belleville to provide support here to our community, to the arts community.
So we'd really like to invite Mayor Ellis and our city councilors to come out to enjoy this year's festival. We do have passes available for purchase online, and our early bird in-person weekend passes are still available at $80. They're selling very well, and we're really excited that that will also include the gala event on the Friday. We're also hosting a lot of VIP filmmakers, so we'll be welcoming filmmakers from across Canada for this event, and many of them will be hosting Q&As following their film screenings this year.
And just this is really part of our mandate, that it's 3 days of outstanding films that celebrate life and human dignity around the world and right here at home. And we requested, as part of our grant funding request this year, our application, that the city declare the week of February 27th as DocFest week, so we're hoping that that will be approved. And we also submitted a request as part of our grant to have free parking available on the Friday afternoon of March 3rd when we're kicking off. And that afternoon we have a tremendous filmmaker panel bringing together some very renowned, award-winning, internationally recognized filmmakers. So I think that's going to be very well attended, and we're really excited to be having them come. Yes, and so thank you very much for your time and your consideration. I know we've got a limited amount of time here. And just this last slide, it just gives you a sense of some of the partners that are supporters of the festival, our grant funders. And we have many, many local community groups. We really are a grassroots festival, and so each year we look for films that are going to connect with and resonate with people in the community. And the funders, the local community groups that do sponsor those films, we really work within their budgets to make that happen. It's a great opportunity for them to get the word out about the work they're doing, things like the Green Task Force here in Belleville, the Committee Against Violence Against Women. They're supporters of ours, and we really are, as I say, a grassroots organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I just wanted to take a moment just to applaud the efforts of bringing diversity, inclusion, and accessibility to this region through DocFest. As a mother of 2 children that are on the autism spectrum, knowing that there's a feature, that removes a barrier for them to aspire to through the arts is incredibly important. Their ceilings are always lower than what people realize, And when we see opportunity like this, when I can take my 2 children to this event and say, look, these are incredible individuals that have talents like you have. They're not neurotypical, but look at what they've done. It's incredibly important to me. It's incredibly important to a bunch of people throughout the city, to many, many people throughout the city that are handling neurodiversity. So thank you. Thank you for what you're bringing to our city, and I will be there. It's actually my birthday weekend that weekend, so that's how we will be celebrating, as attending DocFest. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Really appreciate that and can really relate to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. My wife and I have enjoyed it for, I don't know how many years you've had it now, Holly, how many?
12 years now.
12 years,
Yeah.
and the biggest concern is getting to all the films you want to see. But the last couple of years, you could watch it on TV, so you could spread it out. But and you're offering both of that. I definitely support the thing, and I would like to make an amendment to the motion that we provide free parking Friday afternoon, and we declare the week of
March 3rd.
right, that weekend, as DogFest week. And, but it's such a great program. Your Friday night film and show, and the band is always almost sold out, almost every year. So keep up the good work. I commend you, Holly. You've been doing it for many years, and the new recruits on the horizon, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to second the amendment from Grant Thompson, and also thank you both for coming today and the great work you do in the community. That weekend is my wife and I's anniversary weekend, and so we'll be sure to come out and watch a doc or two. Maybe not all of them, but certainly a couple, and thank you for the great work you do in the community.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be able to work on the committee for me as a volunteer. I really I just get so much from doing this, and I love doing it. And it is a great committee of volunteers that I work with, so really appreciate that comment. And I just wanted to say as well that if you miss a film during the weekend, the live weekend, you'll be able to catch it over the week with the online.
Sure, there we go. I just wanted to say, I think it brings so much culture to our community, and for the last 12 years, I've watched it grow, and your program I went through, you got the documentary or film on Buffy St. Marie, and we know how important that story is to be told. So we've all witnessed it growing in the last 12 years, and on your graph about the grants, it said, Belleville is good for DocFest. If I had anything to do with that slide, I would have it, DocFest is good for Belleville. So that's just my 2 cents. I think it's a great program. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more questions, let's put the original motion on the floor, then I'll put Councillor Thompson's amendment, and we'll vote on the amendment from there. So the original motion, that application by Belleville Downtown Dock Fest will provide information to council about the upcoming film festival to be received, moved by Councillor Brown, Councillor Chapman. Amending motion, Councillor Thompson for free parking on the day of the day of the event or the weekend.
It's March 3rd, Friday, March 3rd.
Declare the week, February 27th, is that what we decided on? Dock Fest week, is that what we wanted to?
Yes, exactly.
Councillor Thompson, Councillor Alsop. Debate. Vote on the amending motion, all in favor, carried. Original motion, as amended, all in favor, carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have our Director of Finance and Treasurer, our new Director, Brandon Ferguson, here to give a deputation on the capital budget process 2023.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm very excited to be here today to provide a brief overview of the capital budget. There'll be additional presentation at the capital budget meeting, but this will be a bit of an overview to get some understanding of the budget being brought forward. And I'd like to direct everyone to www.belleville.ca/budget, where we have some budget content, the full budget, as well as we'll have the presentation here posted as well. So, capital budget specifically looks at the capital expenditures for the city and the capital plan for the year. Generally, for the city, the capital expenditures have a threshold of at least $3,000, and they provide a benefit that lasts beyond 1 year. The tangible capital asset policy outlines in more detail the particular assets and their thresholds and natures. But generally speaking, anything over $3,000 that's a capital expense should be on the capital budget presentation. The capital budget process is outlined in the budget and financial controls. There's a substantial amount of needs and budgetary pressures, and this process is designed to ensure that it aligns with our corporate asset management plan, and that the plan is delivering both a plan that is manageable financially as well as operationally for the city. This slide might look a bit familiar. I've added in the infrastructure gap to look at the narrowing of the infrastructure gap that we're trying to accomplish through the 2023 capital budget. As you can see, the city has a substantial amount of assets, over $2.3 billion in infrastructure. Outlined in the graph with the green, yellow, and red is to identify the level of condition for each type of infrastructure. Overall, the city's assets are in good condition, which is good news. However, you can see there's specific infrastructure areas that are identified that are going to need more immediate investment. And we'll talk about those soon. The financial plan for the asset management plan does identify, as mentioned, an infrastructure gap. It's approximately $55 million annually. We're working on bridging that gap. And it's broken down to about $29.5 million in renewal infrastructure and $25.7 million in new growth infrastructure that's needed to be invested by the city. Again, a bit of an update from a orientation schedule. This graph identifies the capital spending for the city historically. The red line identifies our average level of capital investment, with the green line being our optimal. So our objective is to get from the red line to the green line. And identified now with the purple dotted dash line is a $58.5 million 2023 capital budget figure. We are working to bridge that gap. A few highlights for what is in store for the capital budget presentation and the capital budget meeting for discussion. Over $10 million will go into combined infrastructure services. These are services such as roads, water, wastewater, stormwater, and roadside infrastructure. And a lot of the 2023 capital budget is focused on the continuation of some of our existing programs. The Sydney Street and College intersection, Murney Street, Henry Street sewer separation, and Rollins Drive and Telford Crescent reconstruction. And a piece of new infrastructure that we'll be looking at for development is the old fairgrounds site. Over $4 million is looking to get invested to unlock the development in the city property. The city's fleet and equipment is an area identified in the asset management plan that might not be the most significantly valued, but it is an area that has a significant amount of the infrastructure that exceeds its useful life and would be identified as in poor or very poor condition. This year's capital budget will be focusing on some of these renewal activities. In particular, the 3 buses that are past their service life have been identified for replacement. And luckily, there's some federal and provincial funding that will help support these renewal activities. A recent update to the fire fleet evaluation has identified some immediate requirements for replacement. fire fleet renewals for 2023 capital budget include a pumper, as well as 2 rescues and 2 pickup trucks. Also of note for the 2023 capital budget is the city's facilities and parks infrastructure. The city's facilities section focuses on the buildings, facilities, parks infrastructure, as well as development of new infrastructure that's in line with the city's existing growth plans. City facility projects being brought forward total over $10 million, and they include renewal projects for the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center of over $2 million, and harbor renewal activities of $1.3 million. The budget continues with investments in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, over $2.9 million. Some of these projects include the next phase of Hillcrest redevelopment, the Shirley Langer Trail, as well as the BMX pump track, to name a few. The last section for highlights of some substantial projects and substantial areas of investment for the 2023 capital budget. Stormwater, water, and wastewater projects focus on the city's underground infrastructure, pipe infrastructure, as well as the facilities required to treat and collect our water and sewer. These total over $16.8 million in 2023. And in particular, a substantial portion of this is related to the wastewater treatment plant, which we'll be looking to fund through long-term debt. This slide shows the utilization of the funding that will be used to finance the 2023 capital budget. Additional information on each funding component will be discussed in more detail at the capital budget meeting. However, it can be noted that the funding for this year's capital budget contains some significant grant funding as well as additional debt. Tax-funded reserves and user fees represent approximately 33% of the financing that's required for the 2023 capital budget. It should also be noted that with new infrastructure comes new costs. New operating costs such as fuel, energy, staffing, and maintenance is required when we approve each new piece of infrastructure. The external financing can sometimes usually be available, and you'll see it throughout the budget for the acquisition, but usually the ongoing operating costs are quite often the responsibility of the municipality, will come from taxation and user fees. Estimates of the operating impacts are identified in each of the capital budget sheets that you'll see as we go through the capital budget presentation on the 23rd. And a total of over $540,000 will be added to the operating budget as base budget adjustments for capital reserve fund contributions alone. With that, I hopefully have stayed within my 10 minutes. And as previously identified, February 23rd at 9 a.m. City Hall. We'll be here to debate the 2023 capital budget. And there's lots more information that's posted, and I implore everybody to take a look at the website, www.belleville.ca/budget for more information.
Just have one question. In comparison of this year's capital budget compared to last year's capital budget, I see a substantial drop. Could you explain the reasons behind that or where we're at with that?
Absolutely. Yes, to the chair. Last year there was a substantial spike that would be identified potentially as a higher than usual, and I do have the capital spending graph, and in fact, which you may have been able to pick it out, that shows the ebbs and flows of the budget. So there was some more one-time in nature funding. Particularly, there's approximately $35 million associated with the Belleville Agricultural Society infrastructure, being both the servicing of the new site, as well as my head's in the way on that. So you can see the spike above optimal levels there in 2022, but really this was a bit of a flash in the pan. As I mentioned, the servicing as well as funding for the actual facility totaled 35 million. And about 10.6 million was added in preparation. I think it was identified on the floor at the meeting in the 2022 capital budget to move forward with the $10.6 million of Farnham Road reconstruction project. I think it was identified that this was to make sure that there was adequate budget if approvals came through near the end of the year to be able to go out to tender, but it was really more of a 2023 construction project.
Okay, thank you for that.
No problem.
Need a motion then to receive the presentation by Brandon Ferguson, Director of Finance Treasurer, on the upcoming 2023 capital budget, be processed and receive. Councillor Millette, Councillor Enright Miller, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence, we have one under 7.1. A letter from Mayor Ellis to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. A letter from Mayor Ellis, Minister's modification to adopt COB official plan, Old Fairgrounds. Resolution that the letter from Mayor Ellis to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding the Minister's modification to the adopted City of Belleville official plan 2022 Old Fairgrounds specific policy area be received. Motion by Councillor Carr, Councillor Kelly. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. I need a motion to go committee of the whole. The council will rise and go in the committee of the whole to hear and consider reports, passing recommendations, and resolutions with Councillor Carr in the chair. Moved by Councillor Chatton, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. All in favor? Carried.
Okay, moving on to 8A reports. The agenda shall include under reports items that warrant individual attention from council. 81, amendment to terms of reference and appointments, bylaw, citizen members, Cultural Exchange Committee, DCS 2023-02. A resolution is that pursuant to the Director of Corporate Services Clerk's Report Number DCS-2023-02, amendment, terms of reference and appointments, bylaw, citizen members, Cultural Exchange Committee, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2023-09, the appointments bylaw, be prepared for council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 8A2, policy to regulate real property, DCS 2023-04. Resolution is that pursuant to the Director of Corporate Services Clerk's Report Number DCS 2023-04, council approves the real property acquisition and disposition policy. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. 8AC, City of Belleville Information and Communications Guide, DCS-2023-06. Resolution is that pursuant to Director of Corporate Services Clerk's Report Number DCS-2023-06, council approves the City of Belleville's Information and Communications Guide. Moved by Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Any questions or comments? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to whomever might answer my question. I note on page 2 of the report from the clerk, Mr. McDonald. A draft version of the Information and Communications Guide received approval from Belleville Accessibility Advisory Committee in 2019 and Executive Management Team in July 2019, but was never presented to council for approval. Can someone explain, did it just slide off the table, or?
Director McDonald.
Through the chair to Councillor Millette and all of council, we lost our accessibility coordinator around that time, and we were without one until late last year. So a little bit of that, and a little bit that it was not, after executive management looked at it, it was still in draft form, still needed some updating. With the lack of staff, unfortunately it fell into my plate, and I'm not qualified for that position. So now we have a qualified person. It's back in form and much needed.
Okay, that explains that. Thanks so much.
Okay. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, and basically what
Your microphone, there we go.
Reiterating what Matt, our clerk, just note, I chaired the Accessibility Committee for a number of years, and that's exactly what happened. It's great to see this because over the years while I was chairing it, we had a few people in City of Belleville that was concerned that our information is not accessible in all forms. And I used to get emails regularly from one chap. So by doing this, it gets us closer to being by AODA regulations. So I commend Matt or the clerk to bring this forward. And it was delayed because we went through three accessibility coordinators for the city, and it backed everything up. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. 8A4, policy stop up and closure of road allowances, laneways, and alley procedures, DCS-2023-03. Resolution is that pursuant to the Director of Corporate Services Clerk's Report Number DCS-2023-03, Council approved the stop up and closure of road allowances, laneways, and alleyways procedures policy, and that bylaw to amend the fees and charges bylaw number 2022-179 be prepared for Council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Brown, seconded by Mayor. Questions or comments? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, just looking at the fees, I see Belleville is 300 plus the 2,500 deposit. And I see most of the other places there's only Mattawa is at 300 plus deposit, and Quinte West at 5,000 deposit. The rest are all 500. Is there a particular reason why we picked 300? What was it before, and has that changed?
Director McDonald.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, we had no fees related to this process previously. At the end of the process, we would send any individual who was involved in the process an invoice for all fees that we incurred during the process. As I'm sure you can imagine, collection was a bit of a challenge, but we wouldn't finalize the process until. So this is the preferred process to ensure that the city and the taxpayers associated are incurring costs for the benefit of a single taxpayer.
So this is the first time we've had an exact fee, so.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. 8A5 ES-2022-07 Consulting Services for the Development of Sanitary Stormwater, Sewer, and Water Main Rehabilitation Programs. GMES-2023-02 resolution is that the proposal submission of GM Blue Plan Engineering Limited for request for proposal number ES-2022-07 for consulting services for the development of sanitary stormwater, sewer, and water main rehabilitation programs be accepted in the amount of $255,400 plus $33,202 HST for a total amount of $288,602, with this being the most qualified proposal received, and the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreements on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Any questions or comments? See none, all in favor? That's carried. 8A6 Transit Service Boundary Change, GMTOS-2023-02. Resolution is that pursuant to General Manager of Transportation and Operational Services Report Number GMTOS 2023-02, that a bylaw to approve and authorize transit services to the proposed subject mapping area be prepared for Council's consideration, and that the funds for the services provided be collected from ridership revenues, public funding, federal and provincial funds and grants as available, and through property tax levies. Moved by Councillor Brown, second by Mayor Ellis. Any questions or comments? See none, all in favor? That's carried. 8A7 2022 Capital Budget Amendment, PRKS-2022-04 regarding Shirley Langer Trail parking lot and improvements, MOPD-2023-01 Capital Amendment. Resolution is that pursuant to the Manager Operations Planning and Development of Transportation and Operations Services Report Number MOPD-2023-01, 2022 capital budget item 1.063 Shirley Langer Trail Phase 2 be increased by $315,000 with funding provided by transferring $250,000 from the parking and trails and paving and lighting improvements capital budget item 20-1.041 and that $65,000 from the asset management reserve fund. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Any questions or comments? Councillor Thompson.
So on this particular item here, so is this more just for the parking lot? This amendment for the capital expenditures?
I'll refer your question to General Manager Reid.
No, through the chair to Councillor Thompson, this additional funds is to finish off the existing project. We did run in some expenditures for our underground conduit that was put in and rock breaking. So unfortunately, it's to just finish off and pay the contractor.
So all of this work has been done and we're just getting it into the capital now to cover those costs?
That's correct.
So when we hired the contractor to do this, was there any preparation to see if there was rock or anything they were going to be running into?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, there was some preliminary work done, but unfortunately we came across some underground rock closer to the surface than we expected. As well, we ran into some conduit issues and some design work that didn't account for this.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Consent items. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. I'm going to be pulling 8B16, and I'll have Councillor Thompson take the chair when it comes to that time. I'll go around the table. Councillor Brown?
No, thank you.
Councillor Chatton?
Thank you, Chair. 8B12, I'd like to pull, please.
Okay. Councillor Millette?
No, thank you.
Councillor Kelly?
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
8B1, 8B12, 8B16.
Okay. Councillor Millette?
I'm sorry. 8B6, I have a quick question on that. I'm sorry I missed it.
No, don't apologize. Mayor Ellis?
I don't have, I just believe that one of them might have been pulled, if I remember reading an email, 8B4, I mean, remember? Was it?
So, sorry? 8B4. Oh, yes, 8B4 has, the applicant has withdrawn the application.
Okay, so
So
just
we
make
won't be
note of that.
dealing with that. Okay, anything else? Mayor Ellis? Nothing else? Okay. Councillor Emmerich Miller?
No, thank you.
Councillor Alsop?
They've been pulled, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I need a motion that the consent items be approved with the exception of, hold 1 second. Okay, very good. So that the consent items be approved with the exception of 8B1, 8B6, 8B12, and 8B16, and 8B4, sorry, is pulled. So all except those. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, now we'll go back to the top. 8B1 is recommendation report for proposed zoning bylaw amendment bylaw 10-245. 228 Dundas Street East, City of Belleville. File number is B-77-1178. Owner is Metamore Incorporated, and acting manager policy planning report number PP-2023-07. Resolution reads that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends the following to City Council. That application B-77-1178 to amend the City of Belleville zoning bylaw number 10-245 as amended for 228 Dundas Street East, City of Belleville be approved as follows. that zoning bylaw number 10-245 as amended be amended to remove the age restriction for the special care residential building permitted in the nursing home NH-4 zone, and that bylaw amending zoning bylaw number 10-245 being a bylaw to regulate the use of land and the height, bulk, location, size, floor area, spacing, character, and use of buildings be prepared for council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Millette. And who pulled that? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Don't get me wrong, I think this is going to make a great use of a particular building that's been empty for a number of years. It's tried a couple of times, but I have a couple of questions more from the residents of that particular area, and it's on security. And I think they need to be assured that there's going to be a reasonable amount of security in the building. And I do that because I refer back to the last use it had, and the security wasn't good in it. There was a lot of people out wandering the streets, and there was a lot of profanity, and the neighbors picked up on it, and there was other stuff going on by those residents on the property. And I dealt with a couple of 3 residents on that for a long time, and unfortunately they went bankrupt and they left it. So this is a good idea, but I need to be assured, or reasonably assured, that there's going to be security there 24/7. So can anybody answer that?
I'm going to refer your question through to Director Ashton. Just because of the planning nature and the zoning nature, I don't know if he's able to speak on the actual operation.
So I believe in the actual planning report, there was mention that there would be representatives of the agencies at that site. If I had had the opportunity to have your question a little earlier, I could have followed up a little more. I'm not sure about 24/7 coverage. We can obviously get that answer for you at some other point in time, but they do have their intention of these agencies is to have someone there on sort of to watch over the facility.
I apologize, and I should have presented that to you before this meeting. But if I could get some follow-up from Mr. Ashton on the security at a later at the next meeting, and also if because there's 2 situations here in this particular building. We're dealing with seniors in nursing homes, and we're dealing with the mental health. Again, I'm concerned, is there a separation that those 2 can live happily ever after in that kind of a situation? So those are my 2 big concerns with this building. If I could get some follow-up, Mr. Ashton.
So just to clarify, I'd probably be able to sort of, through planning, kind of discuss what their intentions are in regards to security. I'm not sure if I can answer your, is it appropriate to mix the 2 ages together sort of idea. So I do believe that they did come as part of the original discussing their concepts, but we can definitely circle back to them and give you some feedback of what their intentions are.
Yeah, I realize that we can't regulate that inside the building, but it is a concern of mine because of the different age groups, and one with some mental health issues that are important that we got to deal with, and this gives us an opportunity to deal with it. So I would like if we can find out whether there's any security for the separation and also security for the building, because I presume some of these people are going to be able to come and go. So if I could find that out for me, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay, and then
Go ahead, Director.
just for clarity as well, so the intention is that the owner of the property those are 2 potential. It doesn't mean that those are the final 2 service providers. So I could be asking with regards to that, but at the end of the day, it could be another service provider.
So if I might call a point of order, the discussion that's going on here pertains to the tenants and not to the fact that we are simply trying to change the zoning designation on this particular one.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to allow the point of order. Councillor Thompson, I understand your concerns, and that was certainly expressed at the public meetings. At the planning meeting, it was clearly articulated from staff that the purpose of this application is to remove the age restriction. And the Ontario Human Rights Commission has been quite clear that municipalities can't, through zoning, zone people. And so we can't discriminate on people who may take up residence in a particular area. That doesn't retract from your concern for the security there. That was raised at the time of planning. Both agencies are reputable agencies within our community that operate other facilities, and they're subject to their own regulations and their own safety and security plans that they would have to satisfy with senior government levels and their regulatory bodies. But for the purpose of this particular motion, it is related to removing the age restriction, and we should be limiting to the zoning aspect of that.
Okay, thank you very much, but I still state that I'm not discriminating in any way, shape, or form. Thank you.
No, and just to be clear, Councillor Thompson, I wasn't suggesting that at all. I was just adding to what the dialogue was at the meeting. Okay. Any other questions or comments, Councillor Alsop?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I was very much in support of this application for the reason that you just mentioned, that this removes a piece of people zoning that had been occurring because of the senior designation for the building. So by removing that, it is allowed for the potential future tenants, and I think that anywhere we can reduce people zoning and make things more accessible and inclusive, it's a great thing, and certainly it would be great to see this facility in use once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this one? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 8B4 is gone. 8B6, bear with me here. B6 is the investment policy quarterly report. Resolution is that the county coordinator's report AC-2023-01 investment policy quarterly report be received. Moved by Councillor Millette, second by Councillor Alsop. Who had the question? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I guess
I'm not him.
Or not, Your Worship. No. Sorry, Mr. Chair. I didn't mean to
offend both of us.
My question, I guess, would be for Mr. Bertrand, but not seeing Mr. Bertrand here, that would fall to our finance, our deputy treasurer, Brandon.
We'll go with the Director of Finance.
Director of Finance.
We'll make those name tags a little bigger next time.
Well, I was going to say, it's approved by, and it's in 4 different terms here, so help me out here. It's a rough night at the Super Bowl party. I note that our investments are quite healthy, and I note too that our total market value of investments is somewhere in the neighborhood of 97.6 million, and that we're entrusting our investments with CIBC and CIBC Wood Gundy. Is this do we have I guess my question is, do we use the same investment house all the time, or do we open, we have other investment agency offices in the city, and have we used others? And is there a process whereby at any given time do we look, say, to any of the other banks or investment houses that have offer these services, or is it strictly the purview of one bank investment house?
Director Ferguson.
Through the chair to Councillor Millette, thank you for the astute observation on the phenomenal investment returns. Yes, currently we do deal with one specific investment brokerage. as you identified, and we're currently under contract with them that had been established before my time, but there are other banks and brokerages that would be interested for sure in the city's business.
I'm sure they would be. I guess my question is, how would they go about that? And if we are under contract, I have nothing, I don't think I know anybody from CIBC Wood Gundy, but I have nothing against them. I'm just wondering, I recall some time ago, we managed to acquire a substantial savings by changing the carrier of our corporate insurance for benefits and the like for the city. And I'm wondering if shopping around occasionally for whatever, because I guess my observation was, with a sizable 97, almost $100 million in investments, I would imagine somebody's making some nice fees on these investments.
Through the chair to Councillor Millette, my suggestion or recommendation would be this may be best placed at the Finance Committee, and we'll look into potential public procurement for those services in the future upon the contract expiry.
That's a great idea. I was not in any way, shape, or form alluding that nothing was proper, but sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much, and I appreciate that, and maybe something that come before finance at some point. Thank you.
Councillor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to Director Ferguson. Quick question. It's a rather small figure, but on that investment report, page 3 of 3, I noticed that cash and cash equivalents were $1,442.45, and that the quarterly interest generated was $130.12, which is about a 9% quarterly return, which is fantastic if that's what's happening. But I think that that's likely because those funds have been drawn down, and so the amount was significantly higher earlier in that period. Is that the case? Just if you know somebody who can do 9% in the fourth quarter I'd like to talk to them.
Through the chair to Councillor Alsop, you're absolutely correct, and you can also see from the graph above where we're starting to see more investment in, more cash in the investments as opposed to taking out of cash. So it is a movement between the cash and the investments that's generated that figure.
Thank you, and probably largely due to the increased interest rates at the moment.
Through the chair to Councillor Alsop, that's absolutely correct. We, from the start of the period to the start of the year to our end of year, we're getting rates that are 5 times in magnitude from what we were getting. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried. Moving on to 8B12, Councillor Millette, I believe you identified conflict. So 8B12, City of Belleville Grant Committee, DF-2023-04. Resolution is that Council approve the recommendations of the Grant Committee as outlined in the Director of Finance Treasurer's Report Number DDF-2022-08, City of Belleville Grant Committee. Moved by Councillor Chatton, seconded by Mayor Ellis. Councillor Chatton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So the one reason I'm pulling this out is because when we were at this meeting, there was a recommendation to table a particular application. One of them was, it was in fact for a gala that is going to be held on March the 4th, I believe. It was the Children's Foundation Gala. We had tabled that issue because we were concerned about public funds being used for prizes potentially, or for the implementation of the gala. And I've since received information from the board that we had misread the application. And so I would like to make an amendment to this particular agenda point, that we approve the Children's Foundation dollars that they were asking for, given that it was actually within the scope of the grant committee to allocate them. So it was in fact supporting programming, but it was through their primary fundraiser. It was just the wording was not absolutely clear. So I would like to put that out there.
Okay, so you're moving the amendment. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Alsop. Any other discussion on the amendment? Okay. Councillor Kelly.
Through you, Chair, is it possible to actually get the application? Because we're voting on something that I have not seen. The grant committee has seen it, but we haven't. I know it's in our report, but it was denied. But is there anything else that we could be given? Yeah, Councillor Chatton.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Kelly. It was not actually declined. It was tabled so that they could provide more context. And unfortunately, because of the date that they are going to need these funds by, which is March 4th, it's before we are able to meet again. So unfortunately, we're really at a bit of an impasse. That was the only thing that was holding back the funds from being allocated to them, was to identify that they were not going to be funds used for prizes at the gala. Thank you.
Councillor Kelly, do you have anything further?
I know the work of the Children's Foundation, Councillor, and I think there was some concern about the $5,000, we're being transparent here tonight, is that some of that money would be allocated for 6 tickets for counselors to go to the gala, or 8 tickets. And to me, that doesn't pass the smell test. I think counselors can buy their own tickets. If the $5,000 went towards programs that the Children's Foundation do, then I could see supporting it.
Certainly. Thank you. And through you, Chair, they actually clarified that as well. They have taken those tables off of the offer. That is not something that is now included. As far as I know, they are just looking for the dollars to support the gala so that they can implement their programming. Thank you.
Councillor Kelly?
No further questions.
No problem. Okay, any other questions on the amendment? Mayor Ellis.
I'll support the amendment, but I would like to kind of change it in the sense of if they haven't found a sponsorship for this package. I just know there was some talk of maybe another sponsor coming forward, so I do support it if the sponsorship is still open, if that makes sense for an amendment.
Okay. Staff will take that under advisement. Okay. Any other questions or comments? So on the amendment to include the Children's Foundation, all in favor? That's carried. And as amended, I vote again? Yeah. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right, and Councillor Millette can come back. Oh, sorry, Councillor Thompson, go ahead. Sorry, I apologize. I blew right through that, and if anybody else has any questions on Grant, go ahead.
Just a question before Councillor Millette comes back.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's on his grant. What's the maximum we give to any organization in the grant committee?
Sure, and just for clarifications, it is not Councillor Millette's grant. He's taken a conflict on it because of the organization he's involved in. Director Ferguson.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, we have not identified a maximum grant amount in the city's general grants.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. That's partly my fault for moving a little quick. I used to do this up here, and then for a while we didn't, so I guess I'm just out of practice.
I won't comment on that.
Okay, and the next item is 8B16. I've actually asked to pull that, so I'll have Councillor Thompson take the chair if he doesn't mind and read that resolution.
B16, Belleville Transit Route 9 update, GMTOS 2023-01 PDF. Resolution that the General Manager of Transportation and Operations Services report number GMTOS 2023-01 regarding the Belleville Transit Route update be received. We move in a second for that. Councillor Carr, Councillor Chatton. Any questions on, Councillor Carr brought it up. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, thanks to staff for bringing this report forward with the detailed information and financial analysis. And I know this particular transit route has had lots of discussion and lots of analysis. And I'd actually like to make an amendment if I could. And the amendment would be to receive the report and that provincial gas tax be extended to fund Route 9 until April 21st, and that Route 9 cease operation effective end of operational day on April 21st, and that staff prepare a report for council's consideration for operating budget to implement mobility transit service as a citywide service, and I'll speak to that.
Councillor Millette. You want
Seconder, yeah.
Yeah, Councillor, you seconded? Okay.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, Councillor Carr.
Yeah, if I could, thank you. So, last term, there was a discussion to have this route implemented in Ward 2. I'll be honest with you, I didn't hear the demand in 2018 during the election. However, we put out a community survey. The first survey had approximately 50% of residents or respondents were in favor of transit service, 50% were not. Through that, it turned into an opportunity where we could use provincial gas tax for the purpose of expansion of a service and without applying property taxes. And so I certainly voted for that, and council approved that, and we started the route. At approximately the 1-year mark, originally it was anticipated that there would be a report come back to council with an update as to how things were going. And the reason why I thought that the trial service, if you will, with provincial gas tax was prudent, simply because you know, a survey is good, but if we put the service out there and actually see what the response is, perhaps more people would be interested as they see the transit service available. As we rolled around into September of last year, there was a suggestion made that the route would continue on and be funded with provincial gas tax till March 31st. And so this council's faced with a decision on where to go from there. The reason why I've included the amendment to extend it to April 21st is that is the last day of the winter semester for Loyalist College, according to their calendar. I have heard from a couple of students who rent places out in that area that are using transit service. So I thought it would be considerate for us to ensure that they have the ability to finish out their semester, not be concerned with exams and then transportation on top of it. However, as you can see from the staff report, ridership is extremely low. And you know, it was certainly an item that was brought up and discussed at election time. In that particular area where the transit was operating, myself and our team, we knocked on those doors twice. There was a significant feedback that they just simply did not want to have that service there, and they, at this particular juncture, people who are purchasing in that area were content with the fact that they didn't have cars and the ability to move with their own vehicles. The other side of it too is just the fact that the way the route's certainly configured, it wasn't their top options for transportation. Now I know we have a master plan review underway, which I think is going to be excellent for the city, and I see at some point down the road that there may be an opportunity for that expansion to occur. But I think at this particular juncture, it's premature based on the fact that ridership statistics are nowhere where they need to be. The other side of it too, which is not lost on me, is that we have limited buses. And we have, and you can see in the staff report, that there are actually gaps within Ward 1 now that are underserviced. And keeping in mind that those property owners are currently paying for transit service in their taxes. So it would be most reasonable to actually provide the service to the people that are actually paying for it through their property taxes now. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the growth that's occurred in Ward 2, and certainly there has. But if you were to look at it from a map at a distance, you would see that we have 4 islands of development within what's still somewhat of a rural area. And there's farmer fields dividing these different subdivisions. And so the growth is pretty much maxed out where it has right now. Some of us that's been through the official plan process last term, and we're waiting for the minister to sign off at some point, hopefully soon. But nonetheless, our urban boundary is not moving any further to the north. And what you're seeing there now is some pocketed areas that are developing out, and that's it. But as this council will see, and certainly through Planning Advisory Committee, there's going to be a lot of focus and discussion on the Loyalist secondary plan. And that is going to be our significant growth area in the near future for the city. So it would make sense that we are concentrating services into that area where transit service is already impacted through property taxes. The other thing that I've asked for, and we'll talk about it more at operating, is the mobility bus service. And I think if we're going to be a community that is accessible, that we ensure we have this mobility service available for all residents. The only really demand that I've heard from residents about transit was related to mobility. We have McQuiggy Lodge on Black Diamond Road in Canifton. We have a seniors residence on York Drive off Ashley Street, and there's other areas within our municipality, and certainly within Ward 2, where mobility service will provide access to residents and the opportunity to attend appointments and different things within the community. And so with that, I know that there'll be a minimal tax impact, but I understand it is extremely minimal. We can get into that debate a little bit better at operating budget, but I feel for those reasons at this point that we need to wind down this route and do it in a reasonable way. This will give everybody the opportunity to make other arrangements. The other side of it too is these subdivisions, and with a lot of great work of staff and planning, all have sidewalk networks attached to them. And it was alluded to tonight that Farnham Road was put on the project books in order to get that up to an urban standard. And council just tonight passed a particular motion to bring in a commercial plaza on Millennium Parkway into the tax base, where transit buses have been operating for years without that property paying for that service. That will continue, so there'll still be an opportunity for students, for example, that are renting rooms or homes in that particular area to be able to walk safely with streetlights and sidewalks to get to an appropriate transit to make their way around the city. And then just finally, one last thing, we have heard from a few students about transit and about housing, and this would be a good time to call upon Loyalist College to really consider adding transit fare into tuitions. Most college and universities in the province of Ontario have that built into the tuition. And to me, if they're going to be heavy users, it would be great that they would contribute with that funds. The other thing, and it's great for our community that they're attracting so many students and international students, but the thing that we hear is, where are they going to live? So I call on Loyalist College also to consider lobbying for provincial government to build residence and homes for students. You're attracting them here, but they're having a place to live and having difficulty transporting themselves around the community. So those are just two extra side notes that I put out there, but I think we need to make a decision on this route once and for all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You're not getting out of the chair that easy, Councillor Thompson. Yeah, I'm going to support Councillor Carr's resolution as well, and I seconded it. I was on transit with Councillor Carr last term when this was broached. I was opposed to it at the time because just in the manner that it would automatically be assumed or subsumed into the tax base once the provincial gas tax money ran out. Let's look at this for what it really is. It was a trial. It was a trial that was provided for a finite amount of time, funded by provincial gas tax money. The results are in on the trial. The ridership does not support it. The people who live in that area don't support paying for it. I just simply, we have to listen to the people who live in that area, and I've heard from them that I don't represent anybody from Ward 2. but I hear about it constantly, so. The taxes in that area, I spoke to a woman last week, and they're already over $7,000 a year. They don't want to see their taxes increase, quote unquote, for watching empty buses roll by their houses, and that's unfortunately that's what's happening right now. So I will support it. Thank you.
My apologies. This might be a bit lengthy. My colleague, Councillor Carr, and I have had many discussions about Route 9 from many different perspectives. So I think it's only fair that, particularly to the residents in Ward 2 and those who use the transit, that they understand some of my thinking behind this one as well. What was abundantly clear while I was campaigning through the subdivisions multiple times was how the residents feel about the bus. By and large, they don't want to have their property taxes increased for public transit. But my view is that some of this angst was exacerbated by a survey that was approved by the former council that began and led with that question. Residents don't want to pay for students that rent rooms in the homes in the subdivisions, even though those students will contribute to the payment of the property taxes through their rent payments to the owners. And finally, large empty buses running throughout the subdivision angers people. And the volume of riders onboarding largely happens at 6 stops along this route. 43, I believe, is the number of routes between Quinte Mall and Walmart. There's been much discussion about should we remove Quinte Mall and Walmart riders from the Route 9 statistics because they are disproportionate. Approximately in those 2 stops, 15,000 of the 36,000+ riders last year. On this one, I have actually 2 different views. The Walmart stop onboards approximately 5,200 riders who take it 1 stop to Quinte Mall to transfer likely onto another bus. And as Walmart is already serviced by 2 other routes, Route 10 and Route 31, discontinuation of that particular stop within Route 9, I feel would have minimal impact on the riders. Quinte Mall onboards approximately 10,000 riders, and in my opinion, it's a stretch to think that those people are riding for 45 minutes to get to Walmart. Plus, as we only measure onboarding and not where they egress from the bus, we can't say with any certainty where the riders are getting off. The optimist in me hopes that they're getting off somewhere in the subdivisions. Route 9 is by no means the largest ridership with only 36,000, but it's also not the smallest in the city. Routes 11, 31, and the on-demand service on 101 are considerably smaller, and yet we support their continuation. Statistically, a number of Belleville riders make their way to Loyalist College, and this is to my colleague's point. On Route 7, 184,000 riders, and Route 10, 136,000 riders. Those being some of the highest ridership numbers we saw throughout Belleville Transit in 2022. My personal observation from having followed that bus around several times while I was campaigning is that the riders on Route 9 are also making their way to Loyalist College in some fashion, or Loyalist students going from home to work subsequently. Route 9 is making their way to Loyalist through a connection through the Quinte Mall as well. This highlights we have a whole different set of issues that we need to deal with, the ever-increasing number of students enrolling at Loyalist who are finding homes throughout the city, including in Ward 2, and who need public transportation. However, that should not be solved by homeowners in Ward 2. What I do know to the point is the development north of the 401 is reaching the urban boundary. So it's understandable that the number of riders on this particular route will not significantly change in the foreseeable future. If the expectation is Route 9 will include more than its current 3 to 4% ridership, then that's not going to happen in the next 4 to 5 years. And that had to be a factor within my decision. Finally, as I'm elected to represent the residents of Ward 2, I have to be guided by their feedback, and by and large, that has been a resounding no. No to Route 9. to continue funding this either through provincial gas taxes or other grants, or worse, beyond the amended to April 21st. Adding it to the property taxes is absolutely contrary to what my constituents are asking of us. So until we can find another public transportation option for Thurlow that is different than the current route, implemented in full consultation with the community, and well received even with a tax increase, I have to support that Route 9 be discontinued at this time.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, I just wanted to mention that I also would support Councillor Carr's resolution. The only thing that really holds me back is the stress and effect on mental health that this could pose to our students that are at Loyalist College, who will just be entering into their exam period at the end of March. So with a nod to that concept that we do not want to create more hardship for our students, whether they're international or whether they're domestic, doesn't really matter. I don't want to see undue hardship at a very critical time for them to be finishing their programs. And if there is any possibility of an allowance for a just to cover an additional 2 weeks, that would be something that I would love to hear a report about. So if that is actually solidly part of the resolution, then I'm fully for it. Thank you.
And it's called for the end of April?
April 21st, I checked with Loyalist College. That's the last day of their winter term. And then it goes on to registration, so that covers that exam period.
Thank you. My apologies. I thought it was ending at March 31st, so I read that somewhere. My apologies.
Thank you, through you, Chair. This Route 9 has been on the table now for, it seems like forever. And I've patiently waiting. I had a couple of conversations with some colleagues about this over the last few days, and patiently waiting for the master plan to be released in the next 8 weeks. You know, I've heard, as Councillor Millette touched on, from residents in Ward 2, friends and people have just reached out to voice their opinion, and it seems consistent with Councillor Carr and Councillor Brown's assessment. The challenge is, after the master plan, the city is growing, and I think that service has to be offered. I think we'll see what the master plan says, but I think if the city's going to continue to grow, and it is, transit has to be accessible for everyone. We talk about, well, we want equity, diversity, and inclusion, and we want the city to be accessible. Sorry, oh my God, paper towel. Sorry. But we want the city to be accessible. That's some of the challenges I have with this. We're in or we're out. The next thing, Councillor Carr touched on it, and he's been discussing this and mentioning, and I've been doing the same thing. It's the bus fares for the students. So over the weekend I did some homework. Canadore College up in North Bay, Ontario. Your son or daughter goes there, will pay $246 for their bus pass for the year. Our friends in Kingston, if you go to Queens or St. Lawrence, it's $190. If you go to Sir Sanford Fleming in Peterborough, it's $365. And your bus pass, if you attend Loyalist College, it's $65 a month if you're a student for 8 or 9 months. 8 months, it's $520 a year. So Loyalist College comes out with a report last week, and this is wonderful news for our area, but it has its issues. Loyalist sent out a press release, biggest winter semester with students ever, 3,740 students, a 27% increase. I spoke to 2 international students last week, and I talked about bus fares. They pay $16,000 to go to Loyalist a year, plus. They're around $22,000, $24,000 just to attend. And they're paying the highest in the 5 colleges or universities I did some research on, $520 a year to use our buses. If Kingston can do it for $190, why are we so high? And I think the college has to step up and do a partnership with the city. I spoke to a student today. I said, how's it going with the buses? 2 weeks ago, he's out on College Street. The bus comes up. Sorry, you'll have to take the next one because this bus is full. So he missed his class. And that happens more often than not. If you're downtown Belleville, take a look at our bus depot at 10:30 or 11 o'clock. They're lined up around the depot. So that tells us something. And then you see these figures and you think, well, the buses aren't being used, but I can tell you the buses from Belleville to Loyalist College are being used. And I look forward to the master plan, but our students are paying sometimes $250 more than other students that are going for post-secondary studies. I'll leave it at that.
Anybody else? That's all right. Yeah. I just need some clarification. Councillor Carr is going to speak on the amendment. In the amendment, are you specifying that you want to report on the mobility? Okay, I'd like to speak on that and just give caution to the mobility, and Councillor Brown chairs the transit, and unfortunately I didn't make it to the first meeting, Councillor Brown, and I apologize for that. But when it comes to the mobility bus has been called for over and over and over again. If we're going to extend it to Ward 2, we better get some more buses on the track because we don't have enough mobility buses to service Belleville in Ward 1 yet. Because we're getting people that can't get on the bus because it's booked. We're running 3 buses, but we're really only running 2. One is a backup. Most cities, Kingston runs 6 buses. Mobility, granted we're only half the size, but at least we should have 3 or 4 mobility buses. And I'll bring this up at the Transit Committee, Councillor Brown. But I just wanted to say that a mobility bus, we are getting complaints. I had a lady 3 days ago, got to the hospital, couldn't get home, cost her a transfer of $200 to get her home through the transfer people. And that's not right. So if we're going to provide transit service, we better get on the mend for mobility bus service in this city. And as I chaired the accessibility for a number of years, I tried to get that message to the Transit Committee, but it didn't seem to get there. But I'm going to make more of an effort by being on that Transit Committee because we need mobility and we need to make sure that, and this lady that got the transfer doesn't have $200 to make that transfer. She may have $3, but she doesn't have $200. And that's a shame in our city that we can't get our mobility bus people to pick up these people because we're not providing enough. So I support your motion. I'm really concerned. And Route 9, if we discontinue it, that's fine. But mobility bus, we got to remember if we're going to get it toward 9, there's going to be a lot of impact on our budget, and we need that. Thank you. Councillor.
Through you, Chair, thank you. Just as a member of the Accessibility Committee, we will be coming to transit with a bit of a recommendation after we've had a couple more meetings under our belt, and it is a real problem. And I too will support the Route 9 with still, I don't think we should lose sight of this, and we are a growing city. We have a college here that we really need to partner up with and do something with. And if I, maybe to you, Joe, I think at one time, did we not have it included in tuition that transit fees were part of that? It's never been? No? Okay, thank you. But I think it's really something we should look at, and we have a perfect opportunity here, and we have a lot of ridership with these students, and we really need to think about them, think about our constituents and the taxpayers as well. But I think there's got to be a happy marriage there somewhere. Thank you.
Anybody else on the amendment motion? If not, I'll have Councillor Carr speak on it, and then we'll have a motion to accept it or reject it.
Thank you, and I'll ask for a recorded vote on the amended motion, or the motion as amended. just to touch on a couple things just briefly. Councillor Kelly referred to the fact that some students were left behind because the bus is full. The good part is that in another month or two, when Route 9 ends, you'll be able to see a bus now go over and pick up those extra students and actually provide more effective service there. The other thing with regards to transit passes and tuition, I know a student right now who's attending a master's program online and is paying for transit and will never set foot in that municipality. It's built into the tuition. To Councillor Kelly's point about what students are paying on a pass versus if it's built into the tuition, well, if you have every student contributing to transit through their tuition, a portion of that, it thins out the cost for everybody. And so I think there's a real consensus here that we're asking for Loyalist College to partner with us on that front. And finally, with regards to mobility, to answer Mr. Chair, your comments, I agree wholeheartedly with you. That's why that particular part of the motion is referred to budget, because we have some financial decisions that'll have to be made as a result of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. And I know I shouldn't speak again after final speaking, but Loyalist College, I sat on the transit committee a number of years ago. They turned down that opportunity. So just let everyone know. Okay, the motion and motion or voting on the amended motion, and as a recorded vote. Just on the amendment. Recorded vote. Oh, not on the amendment. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Now we're doing the motion as amended, and it is recorded. I got that one right.
So on the amended motion, Councillor Chatton,
Yes.
Councillor Enright Miller,
Yes.
Councillor Kelly,
Yes.
Councillor Millette,
Yes.
Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Councillor Alsop,
Yes.
Councillor Brown,
Yes.
Councillor Carr,
Yes.
Mayor Ellis,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Moving on to 8C, council information matters. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from such consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. The resolution, and so I'll go around the table. Councillor Brown? No. Councillor Chatton? No. Okay. Councillor Millette?
No, thank you.
Councillor Kelly?
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
No, thanks.
Mayor Ellis?
No, thanks.
Councillor Enright Miller?
No, thank you.
No, and Councillor Alsop?
No, thank you.
Okay, so that those items be received, moved by Councillor Alsop, second by Councillor Chatton. All in favor? That's carried. Motion to rise and report. Councillor Alsop, Councillor Chatton, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Following the first and second readings of bylaws, member may debate any bylaw under consideration. I need a motion for the passing of the first reading of bylaws 2023-16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31. Moved by Councillor Chatton, second by Councillor Enright Miller. All in favor? Carried. Second reading of bylaws and discussions. Need a motion for bylaw 2023-16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Brown. Discussion. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor Ellis. I want to just speak on, just briefly, bylaw 2023-30, which is the Bakelite land purchase. Council passed a resolution July 25th of last year to get us to this point. Bylaw is what binds us as a municipality, is the legal portion of a council decision. I won't go into a lot which I said then. I believe that this particular property is an unnecessary purchase for the city. There was conditions that were included in the offer, and one of the conditions was that the proposed area would be considered necessary for stormwater management. As we heard from the CEO at the time, so this land would become de facto city property without any cost, and I just don't think it's a prudent use of taxpayers' money, and I'd ask for a recorded vote on this bylaw, please.
So you want the bylaw, did you have a motion for the bylaw then?
I believe we just have to vote it up and down and request a recorded vote.
Separately on that one, okay. So do we do that now, clerk, or? Pardon me, vote on the rest of them and come back to it? Okay.
If I could?
Yes.
Yeah, and I also will pull 2023-31 if you'd let me speak on that briefly.
Yep, okay.
So this particular part is the lands that are both wetlands within that same area. These are both regulated wetlands and will remain regulated regardless of ownership. In other words, the city owning these particular wetlands will not provide any added protection than the protection that's already there. So the environment and the species there are being protected. So I consider this an unnecessary property acquisition and ask for a recorded vote as well.
Okay. Clerk, did you want to clear up the other bylaws first, or do you want to go into the recorded vote? Okay. So let's yank on the second reading 2023-30 and 2023-31. We'll be voting on the rest of them. Councillor Alsop?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to have a word on those two bylaws that have.
We're going to come back to it.
We're good, okay?
Yeah, so right now I ask for a vote on everything excluding those bylaws. So all in favor? Carried. Okay, now back to the recorded vote. You want to speak on them, so go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on these two items. This is certainly something that I supported at the onset in July when we last discussed. It's something I still support today. I think it's important to add these lands in as recreational lands along the waterfront and to allow public access through their development, and I would like to see us continue with the purchase.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, the clerk will call the recorded vote. Pardon me, the motion, okay, motion to move, the motion, what motion did you have, Councillor Carr? Moved by Councillor Carr.
Sure.
Well, hold on a second. Yeah. It's already. So the motion to approve it. Yeah, okay, we'll just use the same one. Okay, so the motion right now is to approve the bylaw that we're voting on. Councilor Thompson?
Yeah, I just want some clarification on this particular. So if we don't approve the bylaws, that land then will stay with the property owners that exist right now?
Yes.
And will we have any access for the trail?
There's no discussion. Is there a question there? I guess who will answer that? Councillor Beauvais.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Thompson, the issue of the trail connection has been looked at fairly extensively through Engineering and Development Services, and the plan would be that the trail system will be incorporated into the roads that are developed on the developed portion of these lands when they move forward, and that will allow an extension of the Shirley Langer Trail through the Bakelite lands.
So we will maintain a trail. It may not be in the same location. It would be in a different location than what we're proposing right now.
Through His Worship to Councillor Thompson, the trail as engineering has is looked at now will be developed in conjunction with the subdivision as part of the road allowance. So a multi-use trail would be along the most southerly road within that subdivision, tying into the Shirley Langer Trail, and will allow it to continue across those lands.
Okay, and then one last question. The pond that's down there, is that part of what we were dividing, trying to decide that we were buying in this bylaw, or was that separate?
Through his worship to Councillor Thompson, the pond was part of the purchase covered under bylaw 2023-30. The wetland areas were covered under bylaw 2023-31.
So we don't feel then that the pond is really vital to us. If we're saying we're still going to have the trail, but we really can have the trail without the ponds.
That's correct.
Okay. So the bylaw's on the floor, and I guess if you want to pass the bylaw, vote yes. If you don't want to pass the bylaw, vote no. Is that correct, clerk? I guess? Simple as that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right now, we'll call 2 recorded votes. 2023-30 is on at second reading to be approved.
Okay.
That's what I'm calling the vote for right now. Councillor Enright Miller.
No.
Councillor Kelly.
No.
Councillor Millette.
No.
Councillor Thompson.
No.
Councillor Alsop.
Yes.
Councillor Brown.
No.
Councillor Carr.
No.
Councillor Chatton.
No.
Mayor Ellis.
No.
So bylaw motion failed. And so for bylaw 2023-31 at second reading, Councillor Kelly.
No.
Councillor Millette.
No.
Councillor Thompson.
Nope.
Councillor Alsop.
Yes.
Councillor Brown.
No.
Councillor Carr.
No.
Councillor Chatton.
No.
Councillor Enright Miller.
No.
Mayor Ellis.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, moving on, third reading of bylaws, bylaw 2023-16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Need a motion. Councillor Chatton, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. All in favor? Carried. New business. Councillor Carr?
Thank you, Mayor Ellis. I just have one request. Request a staff report for council's consideration at operating budget meetings to incrementally increase the ODSP and low-income seniors property tax credit by $100 in 2023, $100 in 2024, $100 in 2025, and $100 in 2026. Thank you.
Did you want that moved then, Councillor Carr? Sorry. No?
That's just a staff request.
A
If
staff
you
request.
Want a motion, it's fine.
No, it's fine. I think we can, everybody fine with that? I see consensus. Okay, any more new business? Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Just want to have a conversation. I'm going to bring a motion forward about some work with the Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee. Over the last 3 weeks, I've met with the mayor and met with City Clerk Matt McDonald moving forward on the committee. So as the chair of the Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee the last term, the importance of engaging and working with other voices in our community and cultural representation on the city committee was certainly clear to me that we were lacking in that end. And we couldn't do anything last term because it was kind of a 4-year deal that we had set up with the committee. So we had people apply, and I think it's vital that we have representation from citizens for the Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee. I've had conversations with Councillor Alsop and Councillor Brown, who are also on the committee. So I'm recommending, after speaking with many, that the terms of reference be amended to change what the committee stands for, equity, diversity, inclusion in our community, and adding some members. And I'll just kind of give you an update. This was first called. Sorry, this got wet when Mr. Bove spilt his water. It was originally called Racism and Discrimination Coalition back in 2015. I think Mayor Ellis was behind that, starting it, and we had the last time the terms of reference was changed was in 2019. And some of the participating members have been UNAC Quinte, Belleville Police Service, Hastings and Prince Edward Public Health, Quinte United Immigration Services, Loyalist College, and Community Development Corporation. So, great group of folks that have given up their time, but it's 2023. So, I'm gonna make the motion, but here are the names. Joy Martin, Citizen Representation. Corinne Sykes, you know her work for Ukrainian community. She's been a real worker. J.S. Asher came to the Quinte area, originally from India, making his way. Sharon Mandanini, and also we've worked with the YMCA. We had conversations with them. They're doing wonderful work and they're community leaders. So we have a representative by the name of Cindy Mytruck, I believe it is. And then we have United Way Hastings Prince Edward joining us, Caitlin Lalonde, and then Bay of Quinte Pride, Stacy Jennifer Love Jolliker. And it's going to be, hopefully, with the support of our colleagues here, a group that will have better representation for this committee going forward. So the motion is that council approve an amendment to the terms of reference and appointment bylaw to appoint citizen members to the Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee, and further that a bylaw to amend bylaw 2023-09, the appointments bylaw be prepared for council's consideration. So I'm going to move that.
Second by Councillor Alsop. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Notice of motions? Announcements? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. I also have two announcements. First one, Councillor Brown and I will be hosting our Ward 2 Town Hall meeting this Thursday, February 16th at 6:30 at the Thurlow Community Center. And secondly, I'm pleased to announce a save the date for the Homelessness Summit of Thursday, April the 13th. There'll be more details to follow. We're working on that now. Councillor Millette has come on board as Chair of Community and Human Services, so we've got a date confirmed. We'll have it at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center, but there'll be more details on registration coming soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Enright, announcement?
I have a proclamation.
Yes, good.
Sorry. Proclamation. Wednesday, February 22nd is World Thinking Day. For over 90 years, it has united Girl Guides and Girl Scouts around the world for a day of international friendship. Girls and young women in Belleville and beyond benefit from the opportunity to speak on issues that affect them, celebrate the founding of Girl Guides, and connect with 10 million members in 50 countries who are all part of the Guide movement. This year, members will be challenged to be peace builders in their community as they stand strong, stand up, and stand together. The City of Belleville does here proclaim February 22nd, 2023, World Thinking Day in Belleville, and will light the Belleville sign, Bridge Street Bridge, and Fire Station Number 1 Memorial Garden in blue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Clerk, do we need a motion to pass that for the week? No? Okay. Councillor Brown.
I also have a proclamation. I would like to proclaim February 13th to 17th as the Sexual and Reproductive Health Awareness Week. It is a yearly campaign designed to raise awareness in sexual and reproductive health, as well as to promote the resources to improve community health in Canada. Action Canada for Sexual Health and Rights asks building across Canada to light up green to help bring more awareness to this occasion. The Belleville sign, Bridge Street Bridge, and Fire Station Number 1 Memorial Garden will all be lit for the week.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any other announcements? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the weekend, I was proud to represent council and your office at performance by the Quinte Symphony. Marvelous program that was entitled Celebrating Our Own, and it highlighted solos and the spotlight on various, as the name implies, homegrown musicians. We have a fabulous symphony orchestra here in this city, and I encourage everybody to support the Quinte Symphony. I also was reminded as well that we have the Rotary Music Festival coming up, I believe in April. I could stand corrected, but there will be much more on that. We do have a diverse and very talented base of musicians in this city, and as we have done for many, many years in this place, the city of Belleville supports the arts community. And I just would, again, encourage you, if you get a chance to see our magnificent Quinte Symphony Orchestra, it's quite something. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Millet. Any other announcements? Seeing none, I need a confirmatory bylaw, a resolution that bylaw number 2023-32 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on February 13th, 2023 be read a first, second, and third time and finally pass this 13th day of February 2023. Councillor Chatton, seconded by Councillor Alsop. All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Carr, Councillor Enright Miller, all in favor? Carried.